What's the worst thing you've seen someone cheat on their partner? My uncle was the lawyer for this man who was divorcing his 15-year-old wife. After a very bad breakup, they split everything in half, even the land where they built their house. She picked to build another house next to the first one. Don't forget that there was about 200 yards of land between the two lots. The homes were made so that they faced each other from the back. A friend calls my uncle while the house is being built to ask if something he did was legal. Because she spent so much time on her yard, he saw his ex-wife all the time. He got a girl dog and named her after his ex-wife. Every time he would yell, "Susan, you B-word, get in here." After being outside, he let his dog back inside. He would also scream at her if she pooped on the flowers. "Hey Sue, don't pee on the flowers. Susan, stop being such a jerk." Numerous times, his ex-wife called the police, but the dogs were marked as Susan, even though they were female. This meant that the police could not do anything. That's the end of it. 10 years ago, they broke up, but it wasn't until a few years ago that they got a divorce. He burned down his house to get it, and then faxed her the papers to change her title. He might go to jail for starting fires, though. As proof in a divorce case involving a partner from my firm and a partner from another big law firm. I worked at a law firm. There were more than 70 requests sent to. There are banks, law firms, finance firms, and other company types. He hid more than $20 million in another country, and she was sure he knew. She looked through records from 25 years ago to try to figure out what he was doing. After spending $1.5 million on lawyers and going through 7 of them, the judge finally said, "This is silly, there was no plan or plotting, so you don't deserve any of this fake $20 million. Remember that this was a partner at a big law firm being bad. She was well known and made a lot of money every year, but now she seems crazy. Bad separation wife told her husband to stay away from her. As common as hell. Not a bad person, but not a great one either." A year after they broke up, his mother was dying. He asked his sister to talk to his ex-wife and bring the kids to the hospital to see her before she died. The wife never did. Instead, she went to court and told him he broke the order by trying to get in touch with her. You can't use someone else to get in touch with someone. No matter how he tried to explain it, he was still found to have broken the order. His mother died while he was in jail, and his wife never took the kids to see her. I heard this story from lawyers. A car caused a lot of trouble between the husband and wife while they were getting a divorce. The husband finally gives in after telling his wife for months that she could have the car. He does this for something nice like one of the summer homes they have. He drove the car around the city for 3 hours every day, putting so many miles on it that it was hard to use anymore. I can't believe how much thought and spite went into that. I worked as a counselor for 2 divorce lawyers while I was in graduate school. Their client made a living as a pilot. Their pay was very different because his wife only worked part-time. The split was bad. Taxes had to be paid, even though the job wasn't done yet. Their lawyer just told my guys that they can save about $8,000 each if they can share their W-2s and file jointly instead of separately. The wife's accountant just called. That's what the guys in my group told the husband. He tells her that girl is dumb, the $8,000 she lost will hurt her more than it will hurt me. It's really cold outside. Should you make less than a certain amount of money, the Dutch government will cover most of your court costs. This means that if the split takes too long and one partner doesn't make much money or any money at all, the person who makes enough money will have to pay a lot. It's been known for cases to last for ridiculously long times because there are so many ways to make it last longer. But there's a catch. Every month, the government gives your lawyer a set amount of money. You have to pay your own lawyer if the money you get from a divorce or something else is more than a certain amount. Since this is the case, we still keep track of the hours. This woman was finally paid 40,000 euros because she thought she was being unfair to her ex-husband by taking so long to end the marriage. Because her lawyer fees were too high, she had to give back most of that money right away. It felt like something was right there. It also shows over and over that lawyers are the ones who really win fights. As a banker, I often saw a shared overdraft or credit card come up right before the divorce, which caught one of the couples off guard. Well, it was drained all the way until it was empty. It's really bad when it's a student or a young person. A child who is upset about a breakup and can't pay their bills. I knew a man whose wife slept with another man, had a child with that other man, and never told her husband. Then, for some other reason, they begin the divorce process. A DNA test tells the husband that the child is not his. The courts tell him he has to pay child support because it's best for the child. The husband worked at CVS and the wife taught. I helped. They should split up. I spoke for the wife. Basically, the wife brought in most of the money for the family. She took care of herself, her husband, and their 2 kids. They had to pay a lot of money for school and rehab for one of the kids who had severe autism. The husband, who was living alone, sued the wife, who was taking care of both kids, for temporary support while they were getting a divorce. He did everything the law said he had to do to get it, but something didn't seem right. The judge threw out all the facts and yelled at the husband for 20 minutes on the day of the hearing. He said that he was a horrible guy who stood for everything that was wrong with the world. The judge then said he couldn't do anything else but offer help to the spouse. He made it clear that he didn't like the husband at all. The husband kept telling my crying client, "Fuck you, you jerk," as we were leaving the building. It was the worst thing anyone could do. A customer told me this. If you hire me as a manager, you can bet I know a lot about people's personal lives. It was pretty clear they were splitting up, but as a worker, I don't care why. That being said, I worry about his money. My guy made money for the family. I believe he was a building foreman, which means he planned, paid, and managed the people who worked for him. He was great. His wife seemed to want everything. But the thing that made him most mad was that she stole the boat he had bought before they met. She doesn't have the money for a truck or anything else to move the boat, which is funny. With the help of the law, he had to take his boat and leave it where she was staying. He threw his boat away. He asked me how old I was at the end. I tell him 21. I should not get married, he told me. Everything will be mine at the end. While the man was still in the service, I saw his soon-to-be ex-wife fight hard for his disability payments. She didn't mind that she was being sued because she had a new boyfriend to pay for it. Because her soon-to-be ex-husband hadn't turned in his disability funds yet, she dragged out the divorce and property division for months. The whole amount. She should have been able to get about $400. That was before the Supreme Court said that disability funds are not shared between spouses. A lot of small talk happened. The first couple, wife and husband, are divorcing and have a child. The child goes to the wife. Husband number 1 pays the child support. Second, a man and a woman get married. Second husband takes the child in as his own. Now that husband number 2 is the real father, husband number 1 doesn't have to pay child support. The second husband and wife broke up. That's why the second husband has to pay child support. The wife gets married to him again. The child now lives with him after moving in with husband number 1. Second husband, who still has to pay child support even though they adopted the child. My wife is a divorce lawyer and told me about this case. Even though they were getting a divorce, they still lived together. But they each had their own bed and everything. The husband would buy snacks like crackers and chips and bring them home to his wife, who he was going to divorce soon. She would hit the bag so hard that the snacks were just dust, but she would never open it. But every snack he thought was new turned out to be an old one. For this, he also did not get a protection order or anything else. But the dust snacks made him really mad. As a court worker, I helped people get divorced a lot. You won't believe it. How many people bring pictures of their ex-partners without clothes to court as proof? The pictures were used to make them look bad, not because they have anything to do with the divorce. People can look through court files unless the judge locks them. This means that anyone can look at the court file and everything that is attached to it. Family court is the most sad part of the court system. Please do not show people naked pictures. The wife found out that her husband had been seeing someone else. One day she went back to their old house and put shrimp in every curtain rod. The husband was trying to sell the house but couldn't figure out where the smell came from. Because it smells bad, he has to sell it for a lot less than what it's worth. The wife was the one who bought it. That husband was a good person. He looked out for his family and was a great dad to his kids. If possible, he wanted to end the marriage without a fight, but his cheating wife wanted everything, even his soul in all its forms. The house, kid custody, and alimony were all hers, but they both had to pay a lot of extra lawyer fees over a vase and a journal. Both of them belonged to the husband's grandmother. They were the only things she brought with her to the US when she ran away from the Holocaust. The judge said that the wife also got those things in the end. As soon as she got them, she used a hammer to break the vase and set fire to the notebook. It was the opening of his one-bedroom apartment that she put the vase bits and journal ashes. He had to move in because he was having money problems. I worked for the lawyer on this case. A successful business broker in your area. A strong business with a lot of rich customers. Wife runs a small store nearby. Pets can enjoy this. Not really making money. They haven't been pregnant in 2 years. Getting help from doctors and places that do work with reproduction. Finally, the wife gets pregnant. 1 in a million chances. This woman was born a boy. Let's jump. Move forward a few months. The wife spends the day in a big city 2 hours away because she needs to get supplies for her store. The husband was ready for this, and he takes the chance to have his own father test the baby to see if he is the father. He was checked for guns when they first got to the pregnancy clinic, and it was clear he wasn't carrying any. Then he calls his boss, who is also his lawyer, and we start making plans. While we work on the case, someone is following his wife. He goes to the doctor, tennis lessons, the country club every day for lunch, and to hang out with her friends. Her friends have chosen the country club as the place to have her birthday party. Now we have a chance. I tell her her name out loud and give her the divorce papers. I tell her why I'm leaving her as soon as she says it. Not honest. You're being told to go to blah blah county court. Her friends are shocked. It turns out that she and her friends are all living together but not together. With people from the same group of friends. We show proof in court that the husband is not the father. We also want the birth record to not have his name on it. The judge doesn't want the child to end up in state care, so he tells her to make a list of all the people she slept with during the time when she could have had a child. She made the list. 10 different kinds of guys show up the next time he goes to court. The group also includes a doctor, 2 cooks, a trust fund prince, and a few other people. She didn't say which one it was when she said John Doe 1 was the father of the person they really needed. Everyone was told to test their DNA. Our client can have his name taken off of the birth certificate and won't have to pay alimony or child support. The wife and the baby's father have agreed to do this for a number of years. She wins in the end. There was the doctor. The doctor will pay for her to leave the area. A deal has been made. I agreed to the NDA. It cost a lot of money for the doctor to keep his good name. The child would be taken care of, so the court let the birth record say no dad, the trust fund. Their husband closed on their house while the wife was at work. His mom was there with him and signed the forms. They split up after a long time, and the wife wants to move out. But the mom sends her a notice to leave. The wife had no idea that they had rent to pay. After a split, I was asked to take on an enforcement case. Someone owed the man $5,000, but it hadn't been paid in a few years. It was now due in full before the court. Because he saw her looking at some money, he called to ask the courts to take it away. Since she didn't have health insurance, the money came from a dinner at a firehouse that raised money for her cancer treatments. No, I said. My worst client loved his wife. He was told to make a one-time payment of 3,000 rupees. This man goes to the bank and gets 3,000 rupee coins. He then gives them to his wife in court. It's fine from an official point of view. He then says he needs the bag back. In court, the wife had to sit there and count all the coins. It's kind of his bag. She has 3,000 coins now, but she can't get them home. This person was both smart and bad. I've been a paralegal before, but I'm not a lawyer. What was the name of the case I read about? I tried to find it but couldn't. Together, they owned things worth about $15 million. Before they got married, the husband had about 90% of the things. The courts planned to give the wife about $2 million and the husband the rest of the money. The husband didn't want to give his wife anything. It cost him a lot of money to fight every step of the way by filing useless papers and being a general jerk. After lawyers' fees, fines, costs, and money lost on plans were paid, each party had about $500,000 left in their assets. The courts took everything away from him and gave it all to his wife. Guy wins a lot of money in the lottery. 1 million. Not telling his wife. Part of it really does belong to her. He only needs to write it down on the tax forms that his wife always signs without looking. The tax has already been paid. Separate. The husband is not a bother. The lawyer for her tells her to take the fair divorce deal. He moves to a nearby town and lives a normal life, but people who know him start to forget about him over time. After that, he moves again, and no one can catch him. That's when he uses the cash. It's a bit of a story, but here it is. He has always lived on the farm his family owns. His father has died, but his mother still lives with him. One day, his mom tells him that he should get married since he's getting older. He meets someone online. She already has a teenage daughter, but that doesn't matter. Everyone now lives on the farm together because things went well. He takes care of the farming, and she agrees to keep the books. His wife spends a lot of his money when she finds out how much he really has. She buys expensive things, sends her daughter to special schools, etc., but she doesn't pay the farm's bills. There was still a loan on the land. The bank calls him to let him know he's past due and nothing has been paid. He has lost the farm. He and his wife are having a big fight. She threw him and his mother out of the house after they broke up, even though it was theirs to begin with. After that, he goes to the city. It makes him mad. He had lived and worked in the country his whole life. When he gets back to town, he calls his friend and asks if he can stay with them. He gets to his friend's house. The friend isn't there. Instead, he finds his ex-wife and her kid. He lost it. He killed them both with a gun that he took from his car. My lawyer husband told me some stories. A dad hit his 5-year-old daughter, and the girl's mom left the dad and asked for custody when she found out. This mean guy said his wife hit the girl so she wouldn't get custody either. The girl went to see his wife's parents, and all of a sudden, the husband remembers that his wife's parents beat her up too. It was all done again just to keep the wife from getting custody. As the case was being looked into, the girl was in foster care for a whole year. It was found that her parents and wife. I'm guilty. The dad served his time and can now visit with a guardian. He made a living selling guns and loved shooting more than anything else. He was married to her. She blamed him for hitting her since she knew he would no longer be able to own or carry guns. Next, a woman who was getting a divorce asked her soon-to-be ex-husband to get back together, slept with him, then threw him out of the house. There was a car in the road, so she called the cops. He was caught with a DUI, put in jail, and fired from his job. For work, he had to drive. Finally, a man told his wife that he would give up custody of their twin girls if she agreed not to ask for it, to pay them money or split up their property. That ended the breakup because she agreed. He went after full custody of the twins on the day the papers were signed. Because he had a bigger house and she only had an apartment, and because he was better off financially, etc., he said he could take better care of them. His lawyer told him to leave her with very little money. He went after one of them and broke up the twins for good when the judge wouldn't let him because of how things were before. There are a lot of stories, but these are the ones that make me sick the most. The wife has a child. He doesn't care about the child at all, and he doesn't like how the child makes people look away from him. Tells wife that she is in charge of the child in every way, even with cash. The wife knows that her husband is not only a bad dad but also a bad partner. He makes her feel bad about having a baby, so she'd rather raise her child by herself. The paperwork for a divorce is sent in. The husband's lawyer tells him that if he spends more time with his child, he'll have to pay less child support. As a parent, his wife starts to do things with the child and take him to the doctor. The two people are no longer together. The husband is a great dad and spends equal time with the kids. However, the wife had to get a divorce in order for her husband to care for their child. I had this case when I was a law clerk. It was his job to do it, and he was sent somewhere else. His wife and 2 kids moved in with him. He had a great time and made a lot of money. His wife, on the other hand, either didn't work and was a stay-at-home mom. When they split up, they went back to Sweden. The wife then filed for alimony, which was the law's way of making sure she could watch the kids every other week. She hadn't had a job in a while and was having a tough time getting one again. Not putting anything away, etc. The husband suddenly said he was broke too, even though he hadn't had to pay any bills in years. He had about $1 million, and he had to buy an apartment in the town's most expensive area just to live. After you join, make sure to click the bell to get alerts.